Hi, my name's John, and this is Business Update. In this week's episode, we'll be talking about how the travel leisure industry has been seeing an uptick in terms of people starting to travel all over the world. Now, this has good news and some bad news. Now, obviously, during the pandemic, leisure establishments such as airports, hotels, rentals, and so forth had been significantly affected by the shutdown of many businesses. And obviously, with the vaccination being implemented worldwide, this has obviously stabilized the growth of the pandemic. Now, it has not totally eliminated it, but it has done its intended use to curb the severity or fatality of the virus, so to speak. Now, obviously, with the resumption of many businesses and people going back to their normal lives and starting their normal activities in terms of traveling all over the world, this has caused some headaches that many establishments such as airports all over the world have to ramp up its operations, hiring back many employees that they had to lay off before. Even the airlines had to do this, and I mentioned this in the previous video that laying off those employees would be a terrible decision because even though the pandemic has been ravaging us at that time, eventually it will still be dealt with. We'll move past it, and eventually we'll go back to some sort of normalcy that we used to do before. And here we are today, 2 years later, or practically more than 2 years later. Airports such as Heathrow is having a difficult operations in terms of dealing the number of people. If you're not familiar, Heathrow is located in London, and it's a hub from Europe section going to the North American region and back and forth. So there are a lot of people. If you're interested in going to the Great Britain, the key hub to go is using the Heathrow Airport. Or if you plan on visiting the United States, in particular in the East Coast area, the hub that is Heathrow is very critical here. Now that's good in a sense, but in a sense, the number of people, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people visiting the airport to go to their desired destination is a problematic aspect here. And as with the article today, businessinsider.com mentions that Heathrow Airport is a crucial global travel hub, as mentioned, is asking airlines to stop selling tickets and caps passengers number and travel chaos. So meaning they're having problem with dealing with the plethora of people, traversing in the different locations as mentioned. And one thing to take note that Heathrow is a very unique entity here. The airport is operated as a private company, not as a governmentally held establishment, which is obviously for any organization or private company, it has to make a profit here. And obviously with the establishments here, the fees that they charge for the use of their facility makes them a tidy sum. But the problem, as you can see in the photos here, especially if you're in that area, I think I was watching one of the trash taste videos. I think Gant, who is a native in the UK, was supposed to get married, and I think he mentioned that he was supposed to be there 3 hours before the flight, and his luggage got lost when he went to the United States for whatever activity, what activity it is. Anyway, meaning the problem here is that the growing volume or the capacity that the Heathrow can accommodate is at its limit, and obviously stating that asking airlines to stop selling it would be a poor decision in terms of capitalizing on it. Rather than limiting the cap, they should leverage on it. Now on the other hand, obviously piles and piles of people, the traffic would the delay would cause the customers or the passengers to have a terrible experience, which would give them a low customer satisfaction. So the only way to address this is not necessarily stop selling tickets, but obviously expand the facility here, grow the airport to such a state that it can accommodate even more. And obviously, with the growth of our population worldwide, more and more people will eventually start traveling again. And obviously, it looks kind of weird if I see people in public places that doesn't wear any mask anymore. And we've been used to wearing masks for some time, even though we're vaccinated already. And here in our country, that the mandate of wearing of mask is still, I think, necessary, and I think as a precaution. But obviously, in my personal experience, wearing mask is slightly difficult in terms of breathing, and I tend to sweat a lot if I wear mask for a long period of time, especially with our humid weather here in the country. But that's a different case altogether. But the issue here is, does Heathrow had a merit in terms of suggesting of curbing, the number of people? It's as if you want to limit the possibility of generating revenue for your businesses here. Anyway, let's read on the article here. As mentioned, Heathrow CEO mentions that there is now a cap of 100,000 passengers flying per day from the airport. Now, 100,000 people going through the airport may not seem a lot, but it's still a lot. And managing the number of flights coming to and leaving the airport is a very daunting task for an air traffic controller. I don't know how many seconds each plane lands to accommodate the volume of people traversing in their city here. Now, it was mentioned that passengers at Heathrow told insiders on Monday about their flight delays and cancellations. And obviously, not addressing this sooner would have a detrimental effect, and suggesting that limiting the number of passengers is a terrible idea. Obviously, airlines will not be as accommodating because obviously of what happened in the past few years. They're trying to rebound, recoup some of their losses here, and we've discussed it in previous videos that they're actually desperate in hiring more pilots to man their airplanes. And obviously, if you have pilots, you have airplanes, you need to get as many passengers to use your aircraft or your services, so they can regain their lost revenues in the past few years. Anyway, it mentions here Heathrow, which is the one of the busiest airports in Europe until the the pandemic hit, is now introducing a 100,000 passenger flying each day amid mounting chaos at airports and airlines around the world. Now, obviously, experiencing delays is now commonplace. It used to be you could arrive there less than an hour and you can still get to your flight and go to your destination. Nowadays, with tighter security because of terrorism and whatnot, longer delays, longer checkpoints, and so forth has caused a lot of inconvenience for many passengers here. Now, is it effective? Is it necessary? Who knows here? Anyway, it was mentioned here, according to Heathrow CEO John Holland Kay, some airlines have taken significant actions, but others have not. And we believe that further action is needed to ensure passengers have a safe and reliable journey. I think if you shorten the checkpoints for navigating the airport is important. So optimizing it is important. And as mentioned, growing the facility, expanding its capacity to accommodate more passengers, because obviously Heathrow is one of the key hubs in Europe. So it stands to reason that you need to plan ahead of time. So obviously, I'm sure they're expanding it as we speak, but they have to consider, you know, retiring existing facilities that needs to be demolished, maybe renovate it or construct a bigger and grander facility that would accommodate the volumes of people that's going to travel in their location, or as a stopgap. No, not stopgap. A layover of sorts, right? And one of the main airports that it's being pegged as one of the best is in Singapore, so, or even in Hong Kong. Sad to say, not our country, one of the worst, but But the point here is, regardless of how advanced the facility is, it has its limitation, and addressing those limitations is the key to solving it, rather than just having asking other stakeholders in the aviation to limit the passenger. It's just like chopping off one of your limbs and accepting that it's okay. Obviously, for a business, that's no way to do business, and you want to maximize every opportunity. Especially now, the uptake of flights has been increasing slightly, so they need to meet the demand so that they can capitalize on those additional revenues. Now, it was mentioned here that they decided that they made a difficult decision to introduce the capacity with a cap that will take effect on July 12th all the way to 11th of September here. Now, how is this going to affect many flyers? It's can be problematic because obviously if you're a passenger there, especially what if you're traveling, making a stopover in Heathrow, would that count as a cap, or are they just talking about people checking in Heathrow, then going to different parts of the world here? Uh, as mentioned here, the maximum number of daily passengers which Heathrow and the airlines can serve over the summer is 100,000. According to the CEO, the daily outbound seats available will average 104,000 over the summer, but only 1,500 or 4,000 daily seats have been sold to passengers so far. So we are asking our airline partners to stop selling summer tickets to limit the impact of passengers. Again, summer is the time for people to start traveling, and you're hampering. You want to you cap their opportunity to do their business. I don't think could be a temporary solution, but I don't think that's going to be a long term solution. Imagine in the holidays, in the coming holidays, coming this December, would you stop them from traveling? I don't think people would be too thrilled to hear about it. The airlines will be too thrilled to hear about it, and even your partners within the facility that's selling stores, restaurants, even the duty free shops will be not too thrilled of limiting the number of possible customers buying their products. He mentioned that he added that staff at Heathrow are putting all their effort into making sure passengers flies, but you cannot put them at risk for their own safety. And well, that makes sense. Safety is important, but at the end of the day, making drastic changes is necessary. Especially as mentioned, I think the only way to solve this problem long term wise is being able to expand the facility, adding more land areas in the existing facility, or expand existing facilities so that you can accommodate, maybe create three terminals, so to speak, similar to how Singapore has done this in different phases. And obviously, as we get as you get more people traveling, it would be a expected turn of events. And knowing that uh, not just after the pandemic, but even before the pandemic, the growth of the population is increasing, traveling is at an all-time high. You want to take advantage of that, and hopefully they're in the process of expanding. So maybe this solution they suggest is only a temporary stopgap, so that they can mitigate any concerns as mentioned in this article here. Now, obviously, the passengers will not be too thrilled. I will not be too thrilled if I were in this situation here. Multiple passengers mentioned at Heathrow that their flights from the airport had been canceled. So addressing those cancellations should be addressed. It's not just limiting the number of passengers, but the problems that you encounter in the typical operation or day-to-day operation in an airport should be dealt with as quick as possible. And then it mentions some only getting a few hours notice, which is not good. Of the 12 British Airways flights that set to depart from Heathrow to Edinburgh, 5 were canceled and only 1 departed on time. So, which is not a good sign if you're trying to, provide a service here. Another passenger mentioned that she was only reunited with her for luggage 4 days after she flew into Heathrow, which is, I think, it's a more prominent problem nowadays, especially if you have lots of people traveling around the world, meaning the facility that's accommodating those people or luggages at that is it's very difficult, and they need to find ways to solve this, because obviously at the end of the day the experience of traveling It's not just the person traveling from one place to another, but obviously the luggage that you carry, the clothes that you carry, is an important part. And if they cannot address that, then that's going to spell doom and trouble for Heathrow, as mentioned here. And I don't want to be in that situation where I think for Gant, as mentioned in the trash taste video that I saw, I think it took him several days, and I think he hasn't gotten as of the this recording. I didn't know if he was able to get his luggage after the watching the video here. And imagine here, at least in this case, that the passenger was able to get their luggage after several days. For some, it would be misplaced or lost, which is even terrible. No one wants to experience that. So you can just imagine the ordeal, the passenger has to do, and the problem that the airport has to deal with. And in the case like this, so as you can see here, you know, tons and tons of luggages. How do you manage it? And it's not as if that some airports tends to mismanage it. They just throw it away, throw without taking care of it. Obviously, it's a very laborious job, and misplacing it is another, and damaging it is totally different aspect altogether here. So, question here is, what do they do? Do you increase the price, which is possible? But again, if people are willing to pay a hefty amount just to be able to travel again, it makes sense for airlines to charge more. But again, the experience has to be top notch as well. So addressing those issues has to be goes hand in hand with the airlines as well as the airport themselves, as in this case Heathrow. Otherwise, this could be disastrous for an operation such as big as this one here. Now, what interesting note here is mentions that Heathrow is expected to serve a little over 54 million passengers by 2022. So that's this year. That's 9 million more than the forecast in December, putting it at two-thirds of 2019 level. So that's significantly higher. So the question here is, they should be, I'm assuming they've already planned it ahead of time. And the question is how long before they can finish their construction so that it can accommodate more passengers here. And obviously more passengers, more airplanes, more crews. The list goes on and on and on. And being able to maintain all of those is not an easy thing. And I think I've watched some episodes on, I forgot if it's in the Discovery Channel or National Geographic, wherein they showcase how Heathrow operates, not just inside the airport, but also on the runway. Maintain the facility is not an easy task, and doing it 24/7 is a tall order and highly stressful. And obviously, with airplanes involved, lives are at stake, and it's important that you ensure the safety of passengers, which I have no problem with what they're trying to do. But at the end of the day, it's a business nonetheless, and you don't want to piss off your many passengers that's paying a lot of money to utilize your services and have a enjoyable experience, so to speak here. And it mentions here that the mounting chaos at airport comes amid the huge surge in number of passengers traveling post-lock, as mentioned. So, the worst is not yet over, and it's going to get even worse come during the burn months or during Christmas season, and where even more people, even I am planning on traveling again later this year, but that's still up in the air. Who knows with the resurgence of number of cases here. Heathrow mentioned that by the end of May, it has already surpassed the total number of passengers it served in 2021. And I'm not surprised. And if they didn't take that into account, meaning their forecasting techniques is not appropriate, then they need to redo their methodology and get a more accurate representation, even if you take into account the post-pandemic situation here. Heathrow said that in May, 90% of passengers were through security in less than 10 minutes. So maybe security is not the main issue here, but the other processes of checking in your luggage could take a long time, and maybe you could do pre-check-in. I don't know. You can do advanced check-in. How do you do that? Maybe you provide a service where you can do it online, and then get a car service that would bring the luggages so that it would be more convenient for passengers. They can ship it earlier to the airport, and then it's only a matter of, the passengers going to the airport when they need to take their flight, and the luggage would be taken care of. Now, obviously, that's a bigger operation. Maybe they need to charge more, but I think it would be more convenient for passengers, and I think a lot of people would pay a lot of money for those convenience, that someone would pick up the luggage, a day before, or several days before, so that it would be shipped to the airport, or delivered to the airport, so that it's easier to manage, where they can sort it out, which flight, which airplane, so that it's easily managed, so through security checks, so they have more time. And obviously in the airport, you have to hire more personnel, use better technology to scan the different luggages, and hopefully get it in time, so that by the time the passengers do check in on the said date of their flight, they're able to get on their flight with less of the hassle of falling or queuing in line for the check-in. Then it makes a better experience. I think everyone could be benefit from it. Well, here's to hoping. Well, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that concludes our discussion for today. If you find this video helpful or entertaining, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Help continue supporting the channel. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.